Okay guys, this week's Cooking with Connie, welcome. We have got some cat head biscuits. These are a southern style biscuit that a lot of people's grandmas used to make, and they call them cat head because they're supposed to be big as a cat head. So I have modified the traditional cat head biscuit and I've made them gluten-free. If you watch through the video, I'll teach you how to do that. And remember, we always put the recipes in the comment section. We modified these a little bit further. We added a little cheese and a little garlic to make them into a savory biscuit. So this one is going to be one that you're not going to want to miss, because these are going to be delicious biscuits. So check out and keep watching till the end of the video so you can learn how we made these delicious cat head biscuits. All right, guys, so to make these cat head, yes, cat head cheese biscuits, we've started with our Connie's baking mix. So I've got that in here, and then I've added my leavening. So you could use a self-rising flour, but since Connie's baking mix does have the leavening, we've added that in here. So we put a tablespoon of our baking soda and baking powder and a half a teaspoon of baking soda. And then we put a teaspoon of our xanthan gum. That's going to help with the kind of keeping them stretchy so that they will raise and everything. And then we've got 2 tablespoons of water in here, and then we're going to use psyllium husk. That's going to be kind of, again, our glue. That's our gluten that's going to help keep these really soft and pliable. So we're going to use 2 teaspoons. And if you use the whole psyllium husk, that really works best when you're doing these recipes rather than the powder. The powder is more concentrated, so you're not going to want to use as much of it. So basically you just mix that up with, so we got 2 teaspoons of the psyllium husk with the water, and it's going to form a gel. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our buttermilk to this mixture. So I've got a cup of buttermilk in here because I used the other cup of it for the last batch of our biscuits. So we'll put that in there. Now, if you want to know the origin of the cat head, why it's called a cat head biscuit, this is an old southern recipe that I found. And they called them cat head biscuits because they were as big as a cat head. Isn't that funny? Yeah. So anyway, mix this up so that you don't have any clumps of that psyllium husk, and then this is going to incorporate a lot better into our biscuits. All right, so we'll set that aside for right now. Now, we're going to be using, instead of lard, I'm going to use this beef tallow. So this is a new thing that we're going to start doing because it is a lot cleaner than the lard is, because the lard is coming from the pigs. So we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of that. So you need just a little bit of shortening when you're doing the biscuits. And one of the tricks when you're doing biscuits is you don't want to over mix biscuits. All right. So I was always taught to use one of these little pastry cutters, or sometimes knives and stuff, whenever you're doing your biscuits, to mix the fat in with it, because you want the fat to still kind of be in layers. So you kind of do this until you get coarse crumbs. All right. Make sure we got all that. I don't want to leave any of the fat in there, because that's going to be the part that's going to make these biscuits a lot lighter and fluffier. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little Colby Jack cheese, because we're going to make these as a cheesy biscuit. I know, aren't those going to be good? So we'll do about a cup of the cheese. And I think this works best if you use the finely shredded cheese. Now you could use cheddar cheese too, but I like the milder Colby Jack over the cheddar myself. So I'm going to stir that in there. I'm going to do all this before I add the buttermilk to this. The other thing I need to get, pause for a second. So I'm going to add about a teaspoon of powdered garlic to this mix also. So this will give us a garlic cheese biscuit that will rival Red Lobster's. We're kind of doing a fishy theme today with what we're baking. So we already did our fish. And now we're going to make the biscuits to go with it. Now, I will tell you, I made just the regular biscuits this weekend to trial these to see how it turned out. And my husband has been eating those biscuits pretty regularly, so I'd say we did a pretty good job with those. And this is a pretty easy recipe to mix up, too. It's not like it's hard.
It's round.
Yes, look at those biscuits. Does it look good? Now, one thing that I'm going to do with this recipe that, you know, a lot of times with biscuits, you roll them out. With the cat head, you don't. We're just actually going to form these into our biscuits. So it's kind of a cross between a drop biscuit and a roll biscuit. It's going to have more of the consistency of, you could roll these out if you wanted to and form them. But we're going to keep them kind of loose and, all right. So I got that mixed up, and then what I'm going to do is use just a little bit of my beef tallow to kind of grease my pan here. And I love my Pampered Chef. This is an old pan, but I love this pan to bake like rolls and cornbread. It does really good with cornbread. So I use this a lot when I'm doing this kind of a recipe. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to just take this and just get a nice big, again, we want them big as a cat head, so we want a nice big, and I don't want to overdo it, but I want to kind of form them into kind of like a biscuit. Yeah, don't get into that greasy stuff. It's yummy. All right, guys, so these are our cat head biscuits. Now, remember, we did a savory biscuit, so we put some cheese and garlic in here. If you leave the cheese and garlic out, it would make you more of a breakfast biscuit. And so I wanted to show you a couple of things that I really like. This is a jelly that you can get at the Next Country Corner here locally, one of the Amish stores. And these are fruit juice sweetened, so there's no sugar, there's no artificial sweeteners in there. They just use the fruit juice for the sweetening, and these are delicious. So I like these if I'm doing just a plain biscuit with a little butter and a little jelly. But these would be good to have with your dinner. As I said, we're doing, yeah. Hatton's over here entertaining us today. So that's this week's Cooking with Connie. These are our gluten-free, sugar-free, cat head savory biscuit with garlic and Colby Jack cheese in it. So kind of a knockoff of the Red Lobster cheddar cheese biscuits. So check this out. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. And we have all kinds of gluten-free, sugar-free recipes on there. Hi, Hatton. And make sure to make good choices this week. See you soon.